course. It
Okay.
came to my mind that something is wrong with my thinking about women in general. Uh, I'm not sure if you see it that way, but uh, don't we have this notion that they are kind of weak, uncontrolled uh, entities that need protection and so on?
Yes, that's the general, that's why we've
Yeah,
gone and fought in wars. Also because of the biological standpoint of reproductive values.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But what if this is a completely wrong stance?
Well, I agree. I somewhat agree with what you're saying, like, because it's a very, uh, like the lines are blurred a bit. Because when it comes to a woman and everything that a woman, you know, ideally would be, it's a beautiful thing,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and it's something that wouldn't be considered weak. Like to raise children is a feat in itself. Like to give birth to children, yeah, that's obviously biologically it has to happen like that. We can't just choose to go and do it, take
Yeah.
up that slack. But even more like, you know, yeah, it's very the lines are blurred there. I'd like to consider women to
I
not be
also
weak.
think
Hmm.
what if this is a self-deception?
A self deception.
Yes,
Hmm.
we are deluding ourselves into belief that they are kind of weak gender. I
Oh
mean, they
yeah.
use this. Okay, they use this actually. So if you need to change a light bulb as a female, you do not even start to think about doing it yourself.
Yeah, well, that goes back to the old fashioned systems where we did the women nurtured us. They made sure our lives were running as smoothly as they could have an impact on it. As much
Yeah,
as they could
yeah.
do, and it literally was their job to do all that. Us men had to go out and hunt the animals or go out and do
Hmm.
the dangerous work. We still do it. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
today there
You
are.
know what,
Hmm,
Zachary, what I have in mind is it is not the women who are doing this on purpose. I have the impression that they are kind of tool
yeah,
for somebody because that's our weakness. The biggest weakness of male is the female.
yeah,
That's where
yeah.
they can get us. Because whatever we do, you see them with their beautiful faces and so on. You do not see this reptile behind the makeup.
Hmm,
Huh?
that's right.
After after a marriage, uh, she will be your worst enemy, right?
Yep.
She can be your worst enemy. How is this possible?
Hmm.
I have a really hard time to just figure
Okay.
out
That's
how
why
could it be.
that's why I was mentioning the rat utopia experiment. It's actually called the mouse utopia experiments. I'll send you a link to one.
Hmm.
I don't actually think that was the one I watched. I watched another one. It was original footage. Uh, yeah, it was original footage anyway, but it was quite eye-opening in the sense that the
Hmm.
rats operate socially just like we do. Like a lot of mammals have the same social
Yes.
requirements, and a lot of them pair up, and they become like husband and
Hmm.
wife in their own little societies. So what they did is they introduced a certain amount of mice, certain amount of male and female mice, and they just let the population boom. Right? They gave them
Yeah.
everything they needed. Um, they were quite happy, but then they kind of, like the bell curve, their population exponentially
Yeah.
grew until a point where it was literally overcrowded and they plateaued out. Then there was a
Hmm.
point where they started dropping. Now, what was happening is at one point they all had a job, they were happy, they were productive, they were booming. Then, bang,
Hmm.
all of a sudden, mice were attacking other mice just for a little bit
Yeah.
more space. You had society got segregated, sorry. So you had,
I think I saw this. I saw this video. Also, some of them went kind of phlegmatic.
Yeah, they didn't really
Yeah,
give a
yeah,
shit
yeah. I
either
saw this
way, and they were
experiment.
laying around, saving their energy.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes. Uh-huh.
they were
Yeah,
considered to be the
you
pretty
know,
ones.
we are trying to consider this in a biological uh, 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 environment, let's say.
Yeah.
But what if it's a political one?
Oh, the
So,
the the agenda, the overall.
yeah, imagine you want to have control over a population. What would you do?
Oh
You
yeah,
would involve a system that enables you to control it, right? So it could be money, that doesn't matter what, consumption or something. But what if these people start to be too smart, start to realize what's going on? What would you do?
mm.
You would try to get the smartness away because you do not need them to be smart or too smart. You just need them to do their jobs,
Yeah, you don't want them
right?
to be smart.
Exactly.
Mm.
So the powers that be will just, try to evade everything that makes people too smart.
Yeah, I think they've done that with
So,
science already by separating it out so much between all these different subjects. Because a lot of it can be
yeah,
covered
yeah.
in a more basic sense and be taught in an overall subject. Science should be
Yeah,
science, not math. Obviously there's sub
yeah,
branches of that, but why just teach math?
yes.
Yeah.
What I wrote to you, this little sentence, it was like, I saw this kind of not feminism, I can call it. It's like I cannot really
I think
grasp it,
it's
but
something that's
I
come
see
up
it in.
in society.
It,
It's popped up, and then what they've done is they've played on this to either to take away attention from something else or to push their own agendas in the background
yes,
because it's just
exactly.
another
So
distraction.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But this one is heavy because it influences all of our aspects of life. So women in military, for instance, what is the reason to do that? They will weaken the military, of course, because the standards will drop down, the physical standards will drop down to where the women are. So already now they said 3/4 of all women are not battle ready after training. So they have to lower the standards for men in order to let them cope with it. So they will basically build an army, which is not a real army.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yes.
So Oxford uh, added another 15 minutes to the math tests for women. So yes, you don't know that?
No, I don't know that. Oh
Yeah,
no.
they were so miserable that they say we cannot leave this like that. We have to adapt it in a way that they can cope with the male students.
Oh, so
So,
it's
so
like giving them a leg up
to,
and saying, oh, well, they should have
yes,
passed it in the time frame we
yeah,
gave
and, yeah. So there in the educational system, there's a big impact because if you lower the standards because of the women there, so to have a better statistics or something, you lower the demands for the male as well.
Well, that's another reason why we don't have mixed gender sports teams now, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, but
Because
but
they'd
they
have
will
to say
come
to the
up.
men, "Hey, take it easy. We don't want the girls to get hurt out there on the field." It's like, well, hang on, are we
Yeah,
playing to win or what? you know?
yes, but you see, the thing is now you have transgenders
Mm.
that enter female sports.
Oh, yeah, like that's fair on
I've
the
read
women
an
either.
I've read an article recently where one of these transgender men just kicks out all of these wrestlers, female wrestlers, and now they start to argue what should we do with that, because you cannot change a man into a woman. Okay,
No,
that's
you
not
can't.
possible.
Biologically, you can't do it.
Exactly. You can dress them differently. You can remove the genitals. You can make hormone stuff, but muscle tissue doesn't change a lot. Bone structure doesn't change. Weight, all of this built-in stuff will remain as it is,
That's
and so they
right.
will just outperform the female ones. So now they didn't see any problem with that, of course, but the attempt to, let's say, infiltrate all of the male realms we have,
Yeah.
you know, is somehow disturbing for me. Because I wouldn't do that in the other way as a male. I wouldn't say, okay, I want to be a baby nurse, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm much better than any woman. It doesn't come to my mind even.
That's
And
right.
I think it doesn't come to the mind of the female as well. But since they are a very agreeable sex, okay, it is, if once it's socially accepted, they will say, okay, that's good for us. They do not think about, their own demands. They think if it's something is socially accepted by the group.
Well, yeah. The one way I've looked
Do
at.
you know Stardust? Do you know Stardust, a thinking ape?
No,
One of our MGTOW guys. You
no.
should.
I know
There is one of his
turd
videos.
flinging monkey and Voltaire. I've just recently been getting onto some of
Yeah, but
Voltaire.
Stardust. I like Stardust very much. He's a philosopher,
Okay.
and he made one video, and he said, "What's about this pumpkin flavored Starbucks coffee? There's a Starbucks coffee, something with pumpkin, okay? And nobody really cared for that crap because nobody can really fancy that a coffee with a pumpkin flavor will do any good. Huh?
Yeah.
But then on Facebook, some girls wrote about how good this coffee is. And suddenly tens of thousands were drinking this.
Okay. Far out.
So you cannot do that with men, of course. They do not have this, how would you say, this social pressure from the group or from the own gender or from, the friends to do something they do not want. It doesn't matter if it's socially accepted or not. You do not do this because you don't like it. It doesn't matter how many men tell you it's good. You don't do it, right? But with women, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Just the group tells them this is good, and they accept it.
That's right. It's a majority type rule thing there, isn't it? They get told. And they
Yes,
agree.
it's
like bees.
It's
How
groups,
bees communicate.
Yeah, it's groupthink, so to say, right?
Mm.
And so it's like they have an empty head. You can imagine like this, and the group is putting thoughts into it, and they take the thoughts as they are, they accept them, and they go after it. And they do not criticize or question it, because this won't be accepted socially.
But that would be using a level of rationality that I don't think most of them maintain on a daily basis, let alone are generally capable of. Like, I've always liked to think of women as like more of a playful, childlike, the innocent kind of with their feminine beauty and their wiles.
Yes,
yes. So.
But to me, they are soldiers. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say potential soldiers, because they have so little in original thoughts. They really heavily depend on, what the magazines write. Just look at them. Just look at makeup. Just look at fashion.
Yeah.
Do men behave in the same way?
No.
So nobody can tell me to apply makeup on my face. Doesn't matter in how many newspapers, TV shows, they will, just favor it. I will just dismiss it. It is not mine. I don't do it. But on the other hand, if you see the same happening to female, they follow everything. It doesn't matter how stupid a fashion is. They will have it. Remember the one with the belly. Remember the belly free fashion?
Oh yeah.
So every kind of belly, a small one, a big, large, huge, ugly one, they all followed this,
Yeah.
They look stupid. They look stupid in that. It doesn't matter.
What did they call them? Boob tubes or something? It's just the.
I have no clue whether it was in English.
Okay.
We mock them here, like belly-free, brain-free fashion.
Yeah,
right?
but I suppose
Because
the climate there as well wouldn't really allow for that, would it? I mean, Austria'd get pretty cold.
only in summer it's possible, and most of them, they have not a nice belly, so to speak. There is not a model belly coming out there. It was too much. It was ugly, and they're still worried. It's not because they want to impress men with this. This is a big fallacy we have in our heads,
Yeah.
Makeup and all of what they wear, it's not for men. It is just in accordance to the social pressure of their group.
For their own self-esteem, what they try and.
It has nothing to do with men. We never told them what to wear, what kind of makeup to have. Nobody of us did that ever.
Women are women's own worst enemies. They've brought
Yes,
this onto themselves.
yes,
Oh, feminism. Oh no, we've got the right to go out and sleep with all these different men, and now we've got a rise in sexually transmitted diseases and infections.
yes, yes.
Things
It
like
is
that.
exactly that. Who was it? No, it wasn't Coltrane. 2 days ago, a very interesting video. I will post you the link. I was talking about it with you about diversity. Diversity is a big threat, actually, to every culture and ethnicity. The same applies to the promiscuity of females.
Yeah.
Okay, so the more you restrict them from sex, the better culture performs. The
True.
more you let them do what they want, the more the culture will dissolve. It will just be destroyed. So somehow, I don't like this. I don't like this stance of Muslims towards women instinctively. But I ask myself if they know something we don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Somehow I have this strange feeling. There must be something about it, because they, in terms of reproduction and of family values and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
and
they are far superior than us.
and their environment's been so extreme out there as well that they've had to do these things just in order to keep those, families, family
Yeah,
values,
yeah,
way of life in
yeah.
general. So they
But
must have a good secret.
yes, yes, absolutely. I'm not really an advocate for, suppression and
Well,
things like that.
like
But
in that
for
one I sent you about it's a video called is Allah gay? The
yeah,
by
yeah,
Laura
I saw
Southern.
once.
Yeah,
I saw
but
once.
there is one guy at the end,
Yeah,
and he says he goes because the police were there and they're shutting it down. They're
yeah.
and he goes, look, I don't think it is wrong to say that Allah could be gay. He's going like he created all of this. Now if he created gays, who are we to argue? And it's he's saying if and he's
Yeah,
a Muslim,
yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
some of them, just the majority of people, it just goes to show that society in general has a heavily biased views, like the heavily biased views, they just run with them. Even if it's,
Yes.
pervading logic and reason, you
Well,
know?
Zachary, there is some kind of I do not know how to say it, but maybe a mental illness we all are a victim of,
Yes.
which tells us that the things which are not happening are considered to be the normal things. And reality as it happens is the exception. Like never any plane will, fall from the sky. There is no train accidents. There is no car accidents. All of this doesn't exist because our normal world is the idealized world, the world which doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's we are in this strange state that things that are not real are considered to be normal, while the things that are real are considered to be abnormal.
Yes. Yeah,
Hmm?
that seems to be the fashion these days.
Yeah, it is like, we idealize everything so much, and we worship that ideal image so much that we completely forget that it's not visible, it's not existing. It will never happen, right?
Yes, it's not
And
realistic.
this is not realistic. And this is what happens to us when we look at women. We have an idealized picture of them. And they are not like that.
Definitely.
They are completely different to that. We are, complaining about being ditched, or treated like trash and stuff like this. This is not a result of something bad. It is implicit in the nature of women. They just don't they don't show it to you. Okay?
Yeah.
They show it when the time has come. But they are like this all of the time, from the beginning.
Yeah, they just hide it very well.
Yes, they're acting out, they're playing, they're acting a person they are not.
Yeah, they're going through the
Just to,
motions just to get to the end game.
exactly. And we are, as men, we believe this because we are built to believe it somehow. Yes, evolutionary, maybe, we just, our psyche is just not over that. Still not over it.
Yeah, that's why a
If I walk,
lot of men feel out of place in today's society. There's
yeah,
here in Australia, there's a serious lack of work. A lot of people spend almost a year out of work looking for work and that. And I know some people. Yeah,
uh-huh,
it's just real big struggle. I haven't had a wage increase until I finished my apprenticeship. Since I finished my apprenticeship,
uh-huh,
so that's been a couple of years now. So things are
mm-hmm.
kind of like stagnating. Men are feeling out of place. I know people personally who have considered suicide. I know I've thought
Oh,
about it.
yeah,
Thoughts have
yeah,
gone through my
yeah,
head. I know a lot of other people who have had similar thoughts just because of the way of the world. But
yeah,
we're being
yeah.
pushed into these environments where it's that's why I really thought about that mouse experiment. You know.
We are losing, men are losing their self-value completely.
Yes. Yes.
And this mostly due to women interference.
Oh yeah,
It
definitely.
is not because of us. They invade our space all of the time. They are complaining about we need safe spaces and stuff. They are invading our space, changing it completely to their will or to their imagination. And we cannot cope with the spaces anymore. They are not ours.
Hmm.
They are alien to us, right?
Yeah.
Like in the workspace with this stupid Me Too mob justice that happens, that maybe companies will not hire women anymore on the short term because it's simply too risky. You
Yeah.
have very good employees there, and there's coming some kind of girlie who is rejected by one of those, and she's so angry she accuses him of something, and they have to get rid of this guy. And he's a very valuable employee, right?
Yeah.
Just for the sake of her, I do not know, self-esteem or the value in the social environment, because without the Me Too movement, nobody stepped forward. Why?
Yeah. Well, that's right. I mean, like, why
Yeah.
publicly go through that as
Why?
well?
Yeah, why
That's
do they
something for the
need a group?
courts.
Yes,
Hmm.
but why do they need a group? You see,
Exactly. Then,
This is
yeah.
it. This is it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
This is
understand
what I'm
why they
talking
do it.
about,
It's just
because if 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 you want to control a society, you need an entity that has a lot of power without the others knowing that this power exists.
Hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
So men are deluded into thinking we are superior. We are, but we have one weakness, okay, which we cannot really get rid of, and
Yeah.
this is the weakness towards the female.
True.
And Muslims somehow changed it. They said, no, no, they are worthless crap. They are raised like this. Even the mothers tell the Muslim boys, all women are shit. I'm the only good woman. I'm your mother.
Really?
Hmm?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. I mean, our mothers are doing that to a certain extent as well.
Well, yeah. True.
Yeah, if they are,
Yeah.
there are mothers who telling their sons, look, this girl is not good for you. Well, where's the measurement for this? How do they compare?
Hmm.
With themselves, of course.
Yeah.
No? They say
Interesting.
this girl is not cooking like me, so she can't be a good wife for you. Or she's not taking care of your laundry the way I did, and so
Well,
on.
one
So,
thing I've got, there's a guy at work. There's actually a couple. One of the guys has left. He's traveling the world as a photographer now. They're both
mhm,
from India, but they're Muslims. I'm not sure if there's a massive difference between their their ideals or ideologies. Um,
mhm,
but I know that their family structure is very important. Um,
yes,
and the two guys, they grew up together. I think they were like neighbors. They were born around the same time, and they were like each other's support system to keep
uh-huh,
kind of anchored,
mhm,
in their way of life and their ideals. So they always had their friend nearby, that they could kind of
mhm,
fall back for on for support and all that.
Yeah.
He had his family were over in India still, I think, for about 4 or 5 years while he was over here, and he had to go back. He had to go back there
Hmm.
in order for them to come over here.
Hmm.
So that was like one weird thing that I'd never really, never really heard
So
about.
he was an immigrant to Australia. He came from India.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
He spoke very good English. He's a very nice guy. I always say g'day to him and that.
Hmm.
But yeah, like it's just a massive difference in the culture, isn't it? As well.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
A very big difference.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of grasp it at times when you're not really familiar with it in your day-to-day life.
Uh-huh.
To me, the idea of flying back somewhere just so your wife would get on the plane with the kids, seemed a bit funny. But at the same time, that's more of a traditional viewpoint, isn't it? Where if something happened, like something went
Hmm.
horribly wrong, at least he was there. Let's just say that
Yeah.
plane went down and his wife and kids were on it. Well, I guess I'd want to be on that plane too. Like, wouldn't you? But, we wouldn't really think about that. I'd just be like, oh, yeah, catch the plane, I'll book the tickets and.
Yes, 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 yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. Yeah, and, of course, I have some MGTOW guys are from India actually, and one of them, friend of mine, is a Muslim also.
Yes.
But and I also have Muslim friends here in Austria.
Okay.
But their stance is quite different. They raised in UK. They came here with 12 years or so to Austria, and they were not so strongly confronted. They have their prayers and stuff, but they were not so strongly confronted with this, Muslim world as they would be like in Saudi Arabia or in Persia or wherever they come from. But there are some things that would be completely incompatible with our culture, of course. So I could not live with one together because, I do not want to separate my food in the fridge, and the milk and the meat and the cheese, put some different locations. I just would put them, where there is place for it.
Yes.
They have very strict rules on that, how it has to be stored and stuff. So to me, there is a big difference in the way of how to treat women.
Yeah.
Because there is something I assume that there has been one time in history a matriarchate, okay? Somewhere. Maybe it was, in the Middle East. I do not know where.
Didn't
But it
Egypt
turned
have
out,
some female queens at some point that were ruling?
yeah, queens are something different.
Yeah.
So England also has a queen, but it's not a matriarchate. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's the difference. I think the Philippines are actually matriarchal.
Oh, yeah. I think you're right.
They have the women there have the say, So whatever money comes in, it goes to them. It's like, you get your wages, you give them to your wife, and your wife gives you back some money so you can, buy yourself a beer or something.
Yeah.
So all of the power is going to the female, and they, say what will happen. This is matriarchate. It's not just, the reign, some guy on a throne. It is deeply rooted in the family structure. And maybe something happened like this in the past, maybe 1,500 years ago or 2,000 years ago, that brought down civilizations, because as far as I heard, the Romans had the same problem. When the Roman Empire declined, it was the women taking over.
Yeah.
Because most of the men were soldiers; they were outside. Women were the majority, so they had a big say in politics. And we in the West are facing the same. We have more women than men, between 2 and up to 6%.
Yeah.
So the political power shifts to the female. But since they are not really, I don't want to be rude, but they are not really rational. Okay?
Yeah.
They are more like, oh, it feels good or it feels right to do that now. And next day, it's like, it doesn't feel right now. And they can't remember that it was right yesterday. So they just switch their opinion from one day to the other. And in this manner, you cannot really run a company or a civilization.
Yeah.
You have to stay on a certain track, let's say, to let the people cope with it. You cannot change all of the time. It will make people completely mad, you know.
Yeah.
imagine your laws are changing in a monthly interval.
Oh, they are anyway. All of a sudden, one thing's illegal. Next minute, it's just it's not illegal, but you're not a criminal. Like,
Concerning women, yeah, but concerning women, this is really happening,
yeah,
right?
it is. I
But
read something just the other day. Now that I think it was Switzerland or somewhere, they were
mhm,
changing the law, so that if let's just say you've been getting a bit intimate with this woman, oh, can I kiss you? You'd have to actually ask if you can kiss her, and then
mhm,
if you say you're getting a bit more physical, and you go, oh, you got to ask consent, direct consent. You say,
yeah,
oh, do you agree for us to have
yeah.
sex?
If I
Yes,
touch,
right, like yeah, and then
yeah,
you're having sex, and you got to say, is it okay if I grab your arm? Like,
yeah,
otherwise, if you just grab her by the arm, like in a
yeah.
way that, and she might go, oh no, all of a sudden it's rape. All of a sudden you're forcing her into a situation that she didn't want to be in. It's like,
Exactly.
come on,
Yeah,
it's taking all the
yeah,
fun
yeah.
out of it.
It's getting worse. There was this, a no means no. Remember
Yeah.
the no means no thing, and then they came up with what a yes doesn't mean yes as well.
Oh
So
no.
if she decides during the act, okay, she says yes, you have sex with her, but during the act she decides no,
Yeah,
she can't do that. Even afterwards, she can
that's
say,
right.
well, it was easier for me to say yes at this time than to say no. So there is nothing anymore you can rely on, and such rules or such laws can really, find their entry into our book of codes. And so it's like with the fluid gender crap that's happening, they have every day, they have a different pronoun, maybe. They have a different gender as they like, stand up in the morning and say, oh, today I decide to be an 11-year-old cucumber, maybe. And tomorrow I'm a goat, right? And then I'm
Yeah.
a female alien who is lesbian. Hmm?
Well, next day you're a nuclear bloody warship.
Yes, they do what they want, and this is actually their target is they want to be able to do what they want whenever they want it. That's the way of freedom they fancy.
Yes.
But this doesn't work in a society.
But you know what? I
Freedom,
think
freedom
that's.
doesn't mean you can do what you want. Freedom just means that you are not obliged to do what other people demand from you.
Do you think that's because
Right.
now we're not allowed to smack our children on the bum when they're naughty? You know,
Can
like
you
this.
repeat that? I didn't.
They've changed the laws now. If your child's naughty, you're not allowed to spank them on the bum. Give them a little smack on the bum.
Yes, yes, yeah,
You know,
exactly. So you're
yeah,
completely removed from every kind of
discipline
education
and yeah,
or
discipline.
discipline. Exactly. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
Because when things
Yeah,
aren't
that.
tolerated, not you just cut it out. But now people
Yeah,
can't just get their children to bloody cut certain behaviours out. Instead, they've got to go through this long, unproven method of trying to coerce the child through like psychological warfare, rather than just a simple,
yeah,
hey, you're bloody naughty, smack on the bum, you know,
yeah,
it's over
yeah,
with.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
where you
No,
go
no,
cry in
no.
your room,
We
you know?
we started this here in late 70s. It was called non-authoritarian education,
Yeah.
and it was a big mess
Mm.
because those kids start to beat up their teachers, to have no limits to anything concerning violence, and they were completely unhandleable, you can say.
Yeah.
Okay, so it happened that it became some kind of no-no or no-go after a while. People were just laughing about this non-authoritarian education, and they start to beat the children again.
Yep.
Huh?
Yep.
And there is a certain code of language, I think, So a child with 5 years or so doesn't understand really the impact of something adult guys saying. They just have their wish in mind, okay? And they will throw a tantrum maybe in the supermarket because they want to have this popsicle there, yeah?
Yep.
And no matter what, they will terrorize everyone.
Oh yeah.
So in the old days, a little smack, and it was silence.
That's right.
And next time they didn't ask in this way, they asked very silently, or, they came up with another method, more socially compatible, let's say.
So I think that's
Hmm?
maybe the only acceptable shaming method, because you get smacked, it hurts, you start crying.
Yeah.
You look around the shop,
Yeah.
all these people are looking at you, and you're a kid, you don't know what to do, so you shut the fuck
Yeah.
up and you get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the language they are used to understand, because the verbal part is not developed fully.
That's
You
right.
cannot come up with some kind of rational argument, They just want this, and whatever is necessary to bring the adult to buy it, they will do it.
Yep, that's
So
right.
you do not talk to a dog, right? When the
No,
dog is doing something wrong, you do not start to talk and argue with him.
no, it's a short, simple sound that he
Yeah,
recognizes as a negative,
exactly,
Like,
exactly.
No,
It's
cut it
also
out. Yeah,
the nervous system on your bum, or let's say on your cheek, is the same as an ear.
yeah,
Okay, it understands what's going on. If it hurts, something's wrong. Don't do it again. It's simple
yes,
like that.
yes.
It's not something. It's not something against the child. It's something for it.
That's right. Probably one of the best things you
And
could do for your children.
yes, and you stop this, of course, at a certain age when the child is able to understand your words.
That's
You
right.
stop it. But what happens now is that they do not do it while the child is, let's say, receptive to it. And with 16, they start. When it's too late, then the beat up, then it starts to get really violent.
That's right. That's right. Because that's when they're going to start challenging the authority as well.
Yes. I've seen videos, a guy with 8 years walks to the teacher and kicks him in the balls and finds this is funny.
No.
Yes.
That's horrible.
I mean, in my school class, if somebody would do something like that, the teacher will just throw him diagonally across the classroom.
Yes. Across other people, other students.
Yes, it was the only, it was the only thing that kept them from doing this.
That's right.
It was not because they thought, oh, maybe he's hurt by that. No. Maybe I get hurt when I do it.
Yeah, how do you like it? This is, action, reaction.
Do we have laws that tell you don't, commit a burglar or a murder because otherwise we will be angry with you or what? No. They put you in jail or in prison or even kill you.
Yeah.
It's a normal penalty system. So why shouldn't that apply to a young child?
That's right. And like a lot of people, as well. Like me personally, I go through experiences maybe once a week of misandrous women. So I have encounters with all these man-hating women on a pretty much a weekly basis. And sometimes it can be fairly intense for me as well, because I'll ride to the train station in the morning and I'll roll myself a cigarette, and I'm standing there, trying to have a bit of a stretch and waking up still, having my smoke. And a woman comes past with a man, and I've got my headphones on, listening to some music. And I hear her just say, because I can't hear much, she goes, "Oh, have you got a smoke?" And I'm just like, no. And as she's walking, she goes, "Oh, you don't have any more or something?" And I'm like, "It's my only one." She goes, "Oh, it better be." And I'm like, what the hell? Why? She's got this man with her. I'm thinking, am I at risk here? Like, what do I do? Do I say no? Fuck off! Like, just shut up, or what? I had one encounter. It was an Aboriginal lady. I'm coming off the train at the end of the day, so I've been at work all day. And there she is, about 6 meters in front of me, getting to the elevator. And she turns around, sees me, and I put my hand up, and she just presses the button as she's staring at me, and the doors start closing. So I sped up, put my bike wheel in the door, just got in, and she goes, "Oh, I should report you, something or other." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks."
What?
Yeah, like, because my bike hit the bloody door of the lift, right, to get in the gap.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, thanks for holding the door for me." right?
Hmm.
And she goes, "Oh, you're just a fucking shit cunt, aren't you?" And I was like, I just looked at her and smiled. I had my sunglasses on and that, but I was just looking at her and smiling, thinking, "Oh, the things I could say and do to you
God
right now,
damn
you
it.
just don't even you're not even aware of it." Like, thinking if she wanted to really get physical, she'd be the one suffering. Like, she doesn't know anything. So I just left it. Anyway,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
shaking when I
Yeah,
got
but
onto
you
that.
see, this kind of stuff is not happening here in Austria.
Mm.
If a woman goes into an elevator and see anyone, doesn't matter, female, male, child, or they will just hold the door open, of course.
Well, it's
Why
common
shouldn't they
courtesy.
do
I
that?
would expect that
So
generally, but
it's normal, right?
most men generally are, decent enough with courtesies.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
a lot of men
yeah,
would hold the door for other men, even. Oh, you got coming through, yeah. There you go. I do it at work all the time. Hold the door. You know,
yeah, yeah.
it's not hard.
This is normal behavior. It's not even gentleman. It is normal behavior to not to be an obstacle to other people.
That's
Huh?
right. Yeah.
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 But women, they seem, in the Anglo-Saxon countries like Australia, Canada, USA, UK, it seems there's something completely different going on than in my country or even in the Eastern Bloc. I mean, the Eastern Bloc is something else because they had feminism by default because women were not allowed to not work in the USSR, right?
Yeah. True.
They had to work as well as the men, since World War II, that was normal.
Yeah.
So there was no feminism necessary for having the right to work. They were obliged to work, actually. And
Yeah.
and so they look at it completely differently also. But I didn't know, did I write it to you? The translation for marriage in Russian is actually means hiding behind a man.
Oh wow.
Yes,
Okay.
hiding behind a man.
We should.
The most honest form of translation there is.
We should make some posts on some of the Facebook groups about that. That'll
Yeah.
go down quite well.
Yeah. But
Um,
the stance is more or less the same. There was how you call it, an inquiry, not an inquiry, an international test, let's say,
like an audit.
about
Or...
no, like I do not know the name now in English.
It's okay.
It doesn't matter. So they asked around the world, from Denmark to or Norwegian to India, everywhere.
Yep.
They tried to find out what is the stance of the women towards work, men, family, and so on. And they came behind the fact that it's everywhere the same. It's not culturally different.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So from the point of the woman, right? Not from the point of the social environment. There can be different family values. But what is the woman thinking about those values? And they are the same.
Yeah.
So it's not connected to social, cultural things whatsoever. It's purely biological. Huh?
Yes. Well,
That is a very interesting thing
Wolf,
to know.
I've
And
got a...
and the second
Yeah.
and the second is what Jordan Peterson said. It's also from this test that the more in a society, the more the gender are free to define or to decide what they want to do in their lives, the more they get differentiated.
Okay.
So the more, let's say, more females are in the female jobs and male are in the male jobs, the more you give them the freedom to decide, the more separated they are.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And this is also the same across cultures.
Yeah.
Huh? So you see, the group think is doing that. Huh?
Yeah.
The group think is doing that because the same moment you eliminate the group think, meaning that you are free to decide for yourself. You're not listening to newspapers and TV shows or to any group that tells you should do this or that. People decide what they want to do completely freely, right?
Yep.
From their heart. And they start to have gender-oriented jobs. Very much so.
Yep.
Sorry, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say we'll have to wrap it up in a couple of minutes. I've got another person that was
Yeah.
that we're going to do a talk with as well, and that's in, I
Okay.
think 15 minutes. So yeah, we're
Okay,
kind of
okay.
pushing it. I've been busy this last. I think I've had the channel up for, is it 5-6 days now?
Uh, yes.
I think, and
Yeah.
it's doing pretty well. I mean, I've got how many bloody videos have I got? This will be like my 7th video, I think, going up.
Mm-hmm.
I got 8 subscribers now. That's good. So thanks everyone for subscribing. Yeah, what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This will be my 8th video in 5 days. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. That's very productive.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, so
yeah.
you know what I will do for our next talk? I will just collect a few laws that are very specific to Austria concerning marriage and stuff, and maybe we can go over it and point out the differences between Austria, let's say, and Australia.
Yep. Okay. And if you want to get some questions together about Australia, I've got some here, and I was thinking if we both do like the counterparts to each other's stuff. I've got like pretty much it's going to be about some of the like the way that Austria is as a country, because I know it's landlocked. I've just mentioned a couple of little things. You know, it's in there, and also just about the history. You know, because I know there's a lot of wars, and I also just mentioned because I know next year you'll be coming up to 100 years as a sovereign country, as a republic.
Yes, yeah, a bit longer, but First Republic, Second Republic, it takes a little while to step through all of this.
Yeah.
But I would be very interested in you know how society works. Let's say how the female-male interaction works in Australia, but because I think it's very different to ours.
Okay.
And yes, and what kind of impact it has on on the life.
Yeah, that's what I was going to look at the history and how that's impacted on the way our countries are as well. You know, yeah. All right.
Okay,
well,
it's
been very good, Wolf, having you on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Is there anything you want to say before we go?
Well, not at the moment. I have no clue.
No worries.
It's 6 a.m. here now.
Oh, okay.
I'm happy to be alive.
Yeah. Is the sun?
But thanks a lot for having me.
Coming up yet?
Yeah. Oh, so all good wishes to all Australians, of course, male especially.
Yep. No worries. We appreciate it. All the best to you in Austria.
Okay.
All right.
Good. So see you next time, Zachary.
Yep. Have a good one, Wolf.
Yes, you too. Bye.